These photos represent the commitment and strengths needed and the challenges faced by people who care for individuals with FASD.
Forces. The ice pressure ridges on Lake Winnipeg, Manitoba, are the result of invisible and yet immense forces that move ice plates up to 1 meter thick against each other. The ridges represent the challenges faced by caregiver of individual with FASD. The invisible forces that shape these ridges are the same that often limits and sometimes break the future of people with FASD. Social isolation, lack of information, prejudices are only few of those forces that make our work as caregivers more difficult. On the other side, these forces are also what makes us tenacious, creative, sometimes vulnerable, but always determined to change the course for our children and give them the best of ourselves so they become successful members of our society.
Connecting. Consistency, routine connections, taking rare moments to connect physically and emotionally, sharing life experiences in a way that is not dictating, indirect but still connecting, trusting. A time when I can just enjoy and forget about the big picture, a small triumph with a very big impact.
Laughter is medicine. If laughing or being silly isn't a trigger for your child, find ways to connect with humor. Laughing is medicine as a caregiver. Being goofy and finding ways to laugh and share silliness together is wonderful for families and caregivers living with FASD. Try to find humor in the chaos and intensity wherever you can. It reduces the stress and repairs. Finding humor when you're away from your children or child with FASD is healing and necessary too.
Just as the salmon swimming upstream to spawn, I found that I needed to be tenacious. Often the first strategy I tried was not effective, so we had to keep trying. These salmon are trying to jump up the falls at Bailey Chute in Wells Gray Provincial Park. After multiple tries, however, they cut their losses and spawn downstream. So be tenacious, but recognize there are times when you just need to take another path.
Hope. No matter how intense life gets, how dark the day sometimes ends, how alone I feel, I can still find refuge in the beauty of a new day. The sun rises even though I feel unsupported, misunderstood, challenged beyond belief. A new day is a fresh start, a time to look ahead, learn from what didn't work and what did.
Faith, a belief in a greater power, in God, in the Creator, that I am not alone in this journey, and that He is there to listen and hold me up, and to show me how to continue to love unconditionally. I know that when I can't do it anymore, I can hand my children over to Him, and He carries us all through whatever we are experiencing, and sets us down when we are strengthened and grounded, so that we can continue on this unique life journey.
FASD can pull you in so many directions. Sometimes they will create their own steps. Sometimes the smallest step in the right direction ends up to be the biggest step in their life.
Raising a child with FASD can sometimes feel like we're climbing a mountain with no safety gear. The climb is intense, our path is not clear, we are never sure when that rock we step on will give out and roll down the mountain. When it does, we will hold on with our hands as we try to find a solid rock to step on. The feeling we experience as we look and feel for the next solid step is scary and overwhelming. Then when we find that rock and take our next step, we can breathe, we can relax for a moment and take in the beauty of the climb.
As a family living with FASD, we're different. We found it difficult to discuss our challenges with our friends and family, as their experience of parenting was so different from ours. We needed to accept that we didn't fit in and look for the beauty in our own experience. We needed to focus not only on the challenges, but the strengths, the creativity, and the resilience in our family and in our sons. Just because we were different, we weren't any less beautiful.
Strength. How can something be so deeply cracked, broken, shattered, and yet be so strong? Strong enough to hold my body, strong enough to hold the weight of a vehicle. These cracks are deep. Being a caregiver of children with a diagnosis of FASD breaks me over and over again. My cracks are deep, but I heal. I am not the same I was before. I am changed forever. I can be fragile in so many ways, but I can be so very strong. I need to be strong as others are counting on me. Always.
Finding my heart. Finding my heart is settling into the calm after the storm. This photo was of the sunset after a nearly 3-day blizzard, making for lots of indoor time with my children. For me, it's necessary to have amnesia after my child's eruptions or explosive meltdowns. Finding my heart is knowing we are her safe place to unleash her pent-up frustrations, her sensory overload, her confusion and exhaustion from navigating her social and school day worlds.
As caregivers of individuals with FASD, we found we were embarking down a twisty and sometimes dark path. We couldn't see the future, and at times it was easy to feel lost. We had to take heart in the fact that there were many who had been on the path before us. We had to learn that we couldn't hesitate to call out and get support and reassurance from those that had gone before us. We had to remember that we weren't alone in this journey, and that this journey, like all other journeys, had moments of darkness and moments of light.
I've learned that I don't have to respond to every behavior. Sometimes it's best for all of us if I take a step back and give my son space and time.
Relationships. Creating relationships that will buoy us along this journey keeps me sane. Relationships that will remain steadfast, committed and real, no matter what happens. Relationships with my husband, but also with our children, in accepting them for who they are as they transition into their adult years, recognizing their strengths and weaknesses. At so many different levels as our children age, we are developing interdependent relationships that are growing into friendships, and it's changing the energy, the essence of our family. As my daughter once wrote, we are not perfect, but we are family.
You are not in this alone. Not everyone will understand your journey. That's okay. When a flower does not bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. As is true with FASD, it takes a community to help them grow.
At times it felt like we were trying to stand tall against raging storms. At times we felt very alone and ready to crumble. Those were the times that we had to reach out to our own support system, focus on the roots of our strength, and remind ourselves that the storm will pass. We've been changed by the elements, but we have not been broken.
Safety. This gate symbolizes my home life, my refuge. The beauty and safety behind the door that no one really understands. Some try to, but they don't really get it. Others just stay really far away. I let very few in and don't take many on a tour, as it is unpredictable, ever-changing, but it is mine. I understand. I get it, and that's all that matters.
I love watching the herons by the ocean. They stand in the water completely still, waiting for their prey to swim by. They're able to ignore any distractions that don't threaten their safety. When they spot their prey, they strike without hesitation. As caregivers of sons with FASD, we needed that kind of patience, to focus on our goals and not be distracted by behaviors that may be irritating but are not a safety concern, and to act when we saw positive behaviors and reward those behaviors lavishly.
Love fiercely. Love yourself through it. Love yourself enough to practice self-care, however and in whatever way that looks like for you. Search for the good, even in the worst of days. Love can be saying no and having limits with others. Love is asking for help or respite. Love is showing up and trying again. Love is not blaming yourself if you miss a trigger for your child with FASD. Love is arming yourself with as much FASD knowledge as possible for yourself and your child and family. Love is finding ways to celebrate the small stuff.
They told us that love was the key to our kids being healthy, happy, and successful. Were they wrong? We found that we needed more than just love. we needed information, structure, supports, and services. But love gave us the motivation to find those, so I guess they weren't wrong after all.